Hello, hello. I'm your host, Andrea, here with From Mrs. to Ms. I'm being joined by somebody pretty awesome today, you guys. I'm super excited to have him here with me. Say hello, you guys, to Adam Roa. Hi, Adam. How are you?
Hi, Andrea.
I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for joining me. This is
Yeah,
great.
thank you for having
Right?
me.
Yes, of course. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Adam. So, Adam is an artist, he's a poet, and he's a coach whose journey is a testament to the power of trust, transformation, and fearless self discovery. In 2015, he made the bold decision to give away nearly all his belongings, quit his job, and embrace a nomadic lifestyle guided by intuition rather than certainty. I love this already. So, what followed was a 7-month adventure across 8 countries where he immersed himself in deep spiritual work. From silent meditation retreats in India to volunteering in refugee camps in Greece and building clean water wells in Tanzania. Along the way, he built a thriving coaching business from the road, proving that true success isn't rooted in stability, but in the willingness to leap and trust that the net will appear. Today, Adam channels his experiences into powerful creative and transformational work through spoken word, poetry workshops, performances, and coaching programs. He transmits a frequency of consciousness designed to awaken others to their limitless potential. His philosophy is simple yet profound. By pushing past fear and embracing the unknown, we expand our capacity for joy, abundance, and deep fulfillment. Whether through his artistry or mentorship, Adam's mission is to help others remember their innate power, take the leap of faith, and step fully into the role of conscious creators in their own lives. OMG. Wow. Fuck yeah.
I'm
That was a good intro.
where did that come from? Where did that come from? That's really.
We got some things working here. I mean, there's a lot to go off of here. I'm like, holy cow. I was still stuck at the whole like quit your job and just go and live. Oh my God. Were you terrified? I'd be
Yeah,
terrified.
at that time, definitely. It's funny because as you were
Yeah.
reading that, I went, wow, in 7 months, I did 8 countries, and that was a big deal. And I'm pretty sure I did 6 countries in 6 weeks at the start of this year. So life has
Oh
just
my.
continued to get crazier and crazier. But those initial leaps of faith are,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything quite as scary as those initial ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I believe it. Okay. So I got to go back to the beginning. Let's go back to 2015. So, what led you to this whole decision to just uproot your life and follow your dreams?
Well, I had at the time I was an actor in Los Angeles, and I'd had a quote unquote spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
And as cliche as that seems to sound these days, I don't know a better way to describe it because you don't know you were asleep until you wake up.
Right.
And
That's
so
good.
in January 2013, I had this awakening and I started sharing what I was learning online. And
Mm.
that process led to a lot of people reaching out and saying, tell me more. Can you teach me? Can you show me what you're learning? And it just snowballed from there. And as I was developing sort of my intuition and my connection to the spiritual aspects of what I believe, um,
Hmm.
I started to follow the intuition more than the logical mind. And
Ah,
during that time, it was a bit of a surrender experiment to see, can I just follow what feels true instead of what I think makes sense logically? And that was a huge test for me because I've always been a black and white analytical sort of minded person before that.
really?
Mhm.
Wow, that's so cool. And of course, the timing of that back in 2013, 15 was really when probably social media was not like obviously like it is today. And there's so many different things. You got in while it was good on that. Probably people were like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? This is crazy. Let's see what he's up to.
Yeah, I think nowadays everyone sees social media as an opportunity to build a business. And
Yeah.
back then, the only people who followed me were friends from high school and college and my family. And so, in many ways, that's scarier. Whether
Yeah.
if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, most of them are strangers and you're used to just sharing it out with the world. When it's only your
Hmm.
friends and family that you know
A
in
little
person,
trickier.
it can be very, very scary to start sharing, especially sharing new subject matter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you were nomadic, you said. So you were just like what, living out of your car? What were you doing? Just going from like hotel to hotel?
Well, I was very lucky because at the time I was in a relationship. I'm not sure, that was 2015. So um, we had been together at that point probably 5 years
Mhm.
or more. And
Mhm.
having a partner definitely made it safer. It felt as if
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it alone. And
Yeah.
then we put all of our stuff out on the sidewalk basically and put a Craigslist post that said, "Hey, this is all free." We told our friends to come by, grab whatever they wanted. We didn't even sell most of it. The only things we put in storage were a couch and a bed, and
Wow.
then we just started traveling. We said yes to these opportunities
Yeah.
that we found along the way, and it was scary because at the time both of us were just starting out as coaches, and there was a lot of advice being given to us.
Mm.
Why would you go on the road and leave your network? And
Yeah.
because the people that know you in Los Angeles, those are going to be the people that ultimately hire you. How are you going
Yeah.
to do that with no social media following and starting a brand new career? And again, it didn't make sense logically, but it's worked out beautifully.
Oh my gosh, and she was on board. She's like, "Let's do this."
Yeah, in many ways, I think she probably was. We took turns leading. She
I
taught me
believe
a
it.
lot about uh there is nothing quite like feminine intuition. So
Yes.
to lean into her as a leader and as a guide in a lot of
Mm.
circumstances was a huge valuable learning experience for me.
Yeah. Wow. So what a journey you've gone through, all these countries, all these different things you've done, your retreats, all your places you've gone, you've talked to people all over, coaching everywhere, right? So we're going to dive into like kind of what you talk about because I love this. So what do you think, this is going to be my first question for you. What do you think makes breakups one of the most challenging experiences that we go through? And why did you like initially try to navigate those? Why'd you go that route?
Well, in many ways, it's because the only place I ever felt safe was inside of a 10-year relationship. We were
Mm.
together for 10 years from 23 to 33. So it really, most of what I
Wow.
knew of adulthood was in
Yeah.
the context of a relationship. And so when that ended, here I went from thinking I was a confident, successful coach to feeling as though I was 40-year-old virgin who'd never been on a date before and didn't know
Yeah.
what I was possibly going to do. I'd never seen dating apps. I'd never been on one. They didn't even really exist when I was 23. So,
Yeah.
um, and to realize how radically different I felt after a breakup versus inside the relationship sent me on
Mhm.
a crazy journey of depression and self-love
Mm.
and finding my way. And after a couple relationships that were very deep and also very hard to move through the breakup process, I finally realized there's some patterns here.
Yeah.
And I find breakups to be one of the most powerful opportunities that we have because a breakup is one of the few things in our life, maybe only similar to death, where it
Mhm.
actually completely collapses your past, present, and future simultaneously.
Never
Because
thought about
let's say
that.
that let's say you get into a car accident.
Yeah.
Well, in the car accident, your present moment is definitely shifted. Your future can look very different, but most
Mhm.
people aren't looking at their past and reevaluating every decision that they made leading up to the car accident.
Yeah.
Whereas a breakup, suddenly, not only are your present and your future different, but you're looking at your entire past through the lens of this was always leading to a breakup. The things that we said to each other, they were lies. Did they not mean it? Did I do something wrong? So our entire past,
Mhm.
present, and future all collapse at the same time, which is why
Mm.
it's so hard and so painful and disorienting. But at the same time, it's also what makes it such a powerful opportunity because when
Mhm.
all the Lego blocks are torn down, you can build from scratch.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And it's so true. So talk to me about the breakup process. You created this, right? It's called, so the art of breaking up. And so tell us a little bit about what this breakup process is. How does that work?
Yeah, I have a course called The Art of Breaking Up, which basically was me saying, all right, I've been through some tough breakups. I didn't do them great the first couple times, but the last one actually went pretty smoothly. What is it that I did differently? And how do I put this together in a way where I can turn the the long windy road that I went through with breakups into something that's
Mhm.
easier to navigate. And what I realized is I had previously thought that you go from being in relationship to being single. After a breakup, you're
Yeah.
now single and you got to
You're
figure it
back.
out.
Yeah.
But I feel as though that's not entirely accurate. I
Hmm.
think that you go from a breakup to a breakup process.
Okay.
And after that process has been navigated, you become single, where single to me means you are not in a relationship, but now you're also ready to open your heart again.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
to get to that point, you need to navigate the actual breakup process. And when you think about a breakup process, most people stop at the idea that a breakup process is getting over your ex. That's what the
Yeah.
breakup process
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
if we break that down into the mechanics and energetics of how that works, the way I like to view this is there was, let's say, a frequency match between you and your ex.
Okay.
So Adam at version 5.1 is a match to Andrea version 5.1. And
Okay.
we date and we eventually break up.
Yeah.
Well, we know that version 5.1 of each of us is not a long term match. We broke up.
Hmm. Hmm.
But as long as we both stay as versions 5.1, there will always be a part of us that still has that draw to each other, which creates this deep
Hmm.
suffering as if I can't move on, I can't get over them.
Hmm.
But in the breakup, we have this opportunity to see ourselves differently. We can see our actions differently. We have an outside perspective we never had before. We have emotions that we didn't see before. And we have an opportunity to take the lessons and leave the baggage. And when we do
Hmm.
that, we move from Adam 5.1 to Adam 5.3 or Adam 5.4.
Yeah.
And Adam 5.4 would never date Andrea 5.1. And
Yeah.
so naturally, what ends up happening is I no longer feel that push, pull, draw, what could have been, because the person that I was in relationship
Mm.
with is no longer the person I would be in relationship with. And naturally then I have moved on without the
Mm.
need to force it within myself.
Ooh, I love that. So can the same thing work is if you go into the future and now Andrea works on herself and she's now a 5.3 and she's now matching Adam in the way he is in a 5.3. Is that where people can come back around and go, wow, maybe this works a second time around? It didn't make sense back
Exactly.
then, but now it does now.
Exactly.
Oh, I
And that's
love
and
that.
that's why I tell people it doesn't matter, because one of the hardest parts of that breakup is that part of you that still wants to make it work. And
Hmm.
what I tell my clients or anyone I work with is either way, whether you're moving
Hmm.
on to someone else or you're getting back together, the path to that is
Hmm.
doing the work and becoming version 5.3, 5.4, 5.5,
Hmm.
and meeting that person from that space and then
Hmm.
determining whether you're a match or not. The version 5.1 of each of us, we played that out. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So you support maybe backsliding a little bit into somebody, not always, but it's okay. Like a lot of people are like, never go back. Once you move forward, don't look back, never go back to the person before. But maybe you see it a little bit differently. Like, well, no, if it works later,
Yeah,
do
well,
you
you've heard
oppose
that
that?
saying, a man never steps into the same river twice. It's never the same
Mm-hmm.
man, it's never the same river. And
Yeah.
so the question is, are you trying to make it work as the same people you were? I think a
Right.
lot of people do that, and that
That is right.
almost will never work. But if you enter into it as, here's what I've learned, here's what I need, here's what I've discovered, here's how I want to show up differently, and the other person is
Mhm.
able to meet you in that, then I think that is where
There's room.
you can make that work.
Mm. So what was different about the last relationship that you had, that you said you went through all these other ones and they were kind of just, you were like, oh, what is it? And then this last one just was different for you. What was it that was different?
Well, there's patterns that happen. There's a process. It's not necessarily linear, but as an
Hmm.
example, almost every breakup, we go through a period of time where where we blame ourselves, and
Hmm.
then there's a period of time where we blame them,
Yeah.
and there's a period of time where we wonder how we missed the red flags, and there's
Yes.
there's these
Yeah. We
very
dissect it.
yeah, there's these very similar patterns that we can go through, and you can't skip them, these
Hmm.
steps. You can't skip them. But when you understand the way in which you move through these patterns, you can spot the one you're in. And when you're
Hmm.
in that period of time, let's say I'm in the period of time where I'm blaming myself for everything,
Hmm.
instead of making that the be all end all and getting caught in depression and shame and spiraling in that and letting it just destroy my life, I can
Hmm.
say, wow, I've moved into the period of time where I'm blaming myself for everything. I know that that's what I'm in, and I can
Yeah.
surf the wave instead of being just
Mhm.
completely tumbled by it.
It's
I can
growth.
show up differently in that situation. I can have exercises that help me navigate that particular chapter that I'm in. I can get the most out of it. And what I've generally found is, one, you can't bypass the fact that it's just going to take time. And
Yeah.
two, you can speed it up and make it easier, because usually those chapters require something,
Yeah.
and you can get there when you know what you're even doing inside of that window of time.
Yeah, yeah. And so you've talked about how you can turn breakups into beauty, really. And you have like 10 keys of things that turn that way. Tell me about like three or four of them for turning
Well,
it.
one, I'll start with the first one is you need to have space.
Mm.
You got to have no contact. You got to go
Ah,
through.
it's so
I
hard.
know. I know,
It's so hard.
especially.
It's all you can think about is
Right,
right?
absolutely. But the thing
Yeah.
is, um, we become so habitualized into communication with the other person. We
Yeah.
are, I mean, when I'm in a relationship, then I don't eat a meal without thinking if my partner might be hungry, or
Right.
if I'm ordering
True.
food out, I'll send a message, hey, do you want me to pick you up anything? It literally, my entire lens on reality, I'm filtering someone else's experience through it. And so
Hmm.
um it's so important to break that as a pattern interrupt, because otherwise we're still running the same neurology.
Yeah.
And if you're viewing your ex through the same lens of habitualized, I make every decision considering you, it's going
Hmm.
to be very hard for you to actually go through a breakup process, because you're still in the same just physiology, neurology way of being and way of thinking. And so to
Hmm.
have no contact can be done very intentionally. So even if you have a really amicable situation, you're both friendly about it, you want to be friends, you just think you need to go separate directions, the way to communicate this is, hey, I know it'll be very important for us to have a period of time where we just don't have contact. My fear
Hmm.
around that is that you're going to get angry or feel like I'm pulling away or whatever. I do want to be friends. I just know that this is important. Can we set a date on the calendar where we'll check in with each other? But in
Mm.
between that, we just honor that there's no contact.
Oh, I like that. No, I like the idea of setting a date for that because it gives you, um, if you're in that place, still a little something to look forward to. If you're the one that probably got dumped, right? And you're like, okay, there's a little something to look forward to there, but it also gives you that space to just work on yourself and not sit and dwell on, oh, why haven't I heard from them today? Right? You can kind of
Yeah.
move on and feel like you have a little bit of space there. Do you think like blocking people is good? I hate everybody's always like block them, block them. I'm not a big
Yeah.
blocker.
I think it really depends on whether or not you can avoid the social media stalking thing that ends up
Mhm.
happening. If you find yourself constantly checking their stories, if you find
Mhm.
yourself constantly looking to see if they've checked yours, if you find yourself in that, then it's
Wait,
probably a
that's
good
wrong?
idea to I think at that point it's a good idea to block or mute just to
Yeah.
give yourself space, but even then, it can be valuable to just communicate that and say, "Hey,
Mhm.
we've set a date 2 weeks from now where we're gonna check in with each other.
Mhm.
I, during that time, know myself and I would be checking your stories and different things. So I'm going to block you for that 2 week window.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that in advance. And
Mhm.
you can communicate all the way. And as someone who did this in a previous breakup, when that two
Yeah.
week date was approaching, I wasn't ready. And so I sent
Ah.
a message and I said, "Hey, I know that we have this date in 2 days. I'm letting
Yeah.
you know I already know I'm not ready.
Mm.
I'm feeling this and this and this, and I just need a little bit more time. I'd like to please move the date to this,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
in that dynamic, I had ended the relationship. She was still wanting to reconcile. And so I knew that getting on the a FaceTime call and receiving
Yeah.
these are all the ways in which I changed and I'm sorry. And I just wasn't yet ready to even handle that energy.
Yeah.
And I was experiencing a lot of anger at that point, and I didn't think it would help our possible friendship for me to
Mhm.
get on in a place where I was still super angry.
Yeah. So is 2 weeks even enough time for something like that? And maybe you were just throwing that number out there, but, like, what is a good time frame? If somebody's looking to do that and go, "Hey, I can't talk to you now. I can't handle this right now, but let's set our date." What is, like, a time frame?
Well, I think that it's gonna depend on the situation. How long have you been in
Been
relationship?
together.
How intense is the breakup? How can
Mhm.
either of your nervous systems handle it? The reason why we had a date on the calendar is because without the date, she was a spiraling mess.
Yeah,
The date gave her
hence the
a bit
breakup.
of safety and yeah, it just gave her a bit
Yeah.
of safety and security. And from my standpoint, I still loved the woman. And so
Mhm.
knowing that having a date on the calendar helped ease her system, I was more
Mhm.
than willing to give that. But then
Mhm.
when the time came, I needed to hold my own boundary
Mhm.
and move that date. And
Yeah.
so I would say I would say 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks is a great starting point, and
Yeah.
you move it if you need to.
Yeah. Well, you made a lot of good points there on keywords is communication and boundaries. I mean, those are two of the most important things in getting through a breakthrough, I would assume. So tell me, okay, you said space was kind of one of your keys. Do you have a couple more you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, don't blame yourself is one of the 10 keys, which is
Mhm.
we go through a period of time where we're going to blame ourselves for everything,
Mhm.
and it's important to remember that both of you co-created it.
Mhm.
And that leads to another key which is don't blame them,
Yeah.
meaning, and by blame I just mean 100% of the blame. Because in moments, especially let's say we were cheated on, it's very
Mhm.
easy to say, well, that person wronged me, that person cheated, that person's the whole reason this thing blew up. But at the end of the day, there's also a reason they cheated. And
Mhm.
there's also, even if you were the perfect partner and they cheated, there were probably signs that they weren't the right person to date, that you ignored or looked
Mhm.
past or turned a blind eye to or whatever. It's never 100% and zero in the blame game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you can remember that, it can ease when you're in the chapter of blaming them for everything, you can remember, hey, I have some accountability. When you're in the period of I blame myself for everything, you can remember they have some accountability, and that can be very
Yeah.
helpful as well.
Oh, yeah, I think that's huge. So, obviously, breakups can feel like the end of the world, especially when you're right in it. I mean, gosh, I remember going through one and it just was, you feel like you're never coming out of it. Like you're never going to see the light of day. It's never going to be okay again. And then time is a huge one, right? All of a sudden, time heals, exactly what they say. It just takes time to get through that. But you also say that it can be a powerful catalyst for growth. right? So, what is the biggest mindset shift that someone needs to make in order to turn their heartbreak into a transformation? What do they need to tell
Well, the
themselves?
biggest yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's very, very important for you to spot
Mm.
how you can evolve into the version of you desire to be.
Mm. I
So
like that.
there's the relationship ending, it ended for a reason.
Yep.
And I've had my 10-year relationship ended, and we were I consider it a very successful relationship, really
Okay.
successful relationship. We both grew so much,
Mm.
and I credit her with, uh, the man I am today is very much because of her. And
Mm.
to, for that relationship to end, though, meant that I now had an opportunity to look at what people say, quote unquote, went wrong, and
Yeah.
say, okay, how did that happen? How would I want to show up differently? How
Hmm.
would I like to see my next relationship go? Who do I get to be to call in that type of relationship? These are the deep self reflective questions that are
Hmm.
very, very important to ask. And the number one thing that you can have during that of importance that you can bring to this process is radical honesty with yourself.
Ah.
Because you can there the number of times you're writing in your journal or you're thinking about it, and you know deep down that you didn't give your all to that
Mm.
relationship, or you weren't quite truthful in these circumstances, or fill in the blank, you didn't hold your boundaries, and
Yeah.
you don't want to admit that
Yeah.
even to yourself. You just you want to hold on to the idea that you did everything right, or you but by being radically honest with ourselves, we have the ability to shift it. If we are not
Mm.
willing to be honest about it, it will never actually shift. And now we're moving through life holding a vision of who we want to be that's not based in reality. I get to
Yeah.
be honest about the fact that, wow, I really didn't show up with the level of intimacy and vulnerability in that relationship that I truly wanted.
Hmm.
That's on me. And I
Mm.
can't get that back. I can't.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can be sure to make different decisions moving forward.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to shake it up a little bit. So I trolled your Instagram, which is just awesome. So many great things on there. And you had a post with Sahara Rose. It was kind of funny. I think you guys were doing like a little game where you were asking questions and she was being really funny. But you asked what it signifies if your partner isn't posting about your relationship on social media. And how do you interpret this? So, is this like for you a sign of privacy, or could it indicate something deeper about the relationship? I don't know whether it's good or bad these days. I don't know.
Yes. Well,
Tell me.
you're referencing a video on YouTube called Sex Love Jenga that I did with Sahara Rose,
Yes, that's what it
where
was. So
we
fun.
we took questions from both of our audiences around sex, love, relationships, and literally tied them to Jenga blocks and played a game of Jenga and answered the questions. And there's some
Yes.
really juicy ones in there. This
Yeah.
topic was a major area of fighting in a previous dynamic that I had. And so
Oh,
I've really sat with that question from a lot of different perspectives. And I think that
okay.
it's not a cop out answer here, but it really depends. It really does depend on the individuals and
Mhm.
the communication in the relationship. So,
Mm.
for example, in that relationship, I was just coming out of three relationships that I'd been in over the last 10, 15 years, and they were
Okay.
all with people with social media accounts. And
Yeah.
um, I was so sick and tired of my relationship being on social media. I just didn't
Mhm.
want to do that anymore. I'd done it. And so I
Mhm.
made a commitment to myself that my next relationship would be a lot more private.
Okay.
And I didn't want it to be on social media. And so then I get into a dynamic and I'm carrying that.
Mm-hmm.
And for her and her past experiences, that was not a trustworthy thing.
Okay.
And so because she'd had bad experiences, she didn't really trust men in general, but especially when
Uh-huh.
it came to how they use their Instagrams and social media. And so it now became a source of fear being projected
Mm-hmm.
on me. Essentially, if I don't post, it means that I have some ulterior motives and I must be wanting to cheat, or I must have reasons why I don't want people to know I'm in a relationship or something, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that became a tricky one because now I'm taking a very firm stance that I'm not going to post because you are basically telling me you don't trust me. I'm
Right.
not going to post on social
Right.
media about our relationship from that place. That's just not going to
Yeah.
happen. And then it became this kind of battle of wills. And
Mm.
um, mixed in with the fact that I said I just didn't want my relationship on social media. Now, what's
Mm-hmm.
interesting is I'm in a new relationship and she doesn't want to be posted on social media, doesn't care to be posted on social media, just finds the entire thing kind of hilarious and doesn't want, her account's private and all these things, doesn't
Yeah.
really care at all. And so
Yeah.
I'm sharing these perspectives because I don't think, or the one piece to that is I feel more called to post about the new one who doesn't care. And
Funny how
so
life
I
works like that.
right. And I think that the moral is that it really depends on the individuals. Why don't you want to post? Why do
Yes.
you want to post? And
Mm-hmm.
can you have open communication and find agreement around it? That's at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. On my
Yeah.
end, it's also different, and you as well. This is my job, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is my business. My social
Yep.
media is a huge part of what I do. And so therefore I'm not going to treat it the same way as Larry down the street who has 200 followers and just posts about his weekend. It's a very
Or
different
his
experience.
food. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And this has always been, I think, a point of contention because it has that little stigma. Okay, if you didn't post about me, just like you said, oh, he doesn't love me. He's afraid of doing that, or he doesn't want people to know that. And so it's so wild because you can also get into that spot. Then you do post, and then you end up breaking up, and now you've got to go back and remove everything. And then, or if you do post and then people now see you have a new girlfriend, then the old girlfriends come along and they start looking. It creates so many different things in so many different ways. I don't really know, like you said, which way is the best. I guess it's just whatever you decide with your
But I think the
partner.
bigger question, Andrea, is if you are in a relationship where the fact that they're not posting about you on social media makes you think they
Mhm.
might be cheating or are going to cheat,
Then
there are
something's
far
already
bigger.
wrong.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that's my stance is if that's telling me that you don't trust your partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't trust your partner.
Right.
And so that's a deeper issue that gets to be resolved well before does this person post you on social media. Let's talk about
Mhm.
why you don't trust your partner.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. So, okay, moving on. Is there a true distinction between love and codependency? Or are we just labeling them different? And they're really just different expressions of attachment, really. And so, how can we recognize when deep devotion crosses the line into an unhealthy dependency?
Well, I think it's the difference between wanting someone and needing someone.
Mm.
So do I
And we got
want to
through
be
that, right?
right? I want to be in relationship with you. I love
Yeah.
being in relationship with you, but I don't need to.
Need to be. But that's also
And
self-discovery right there because you go through that phase, right? I know a lot of people go through like they want a man, they want a partner, they want a woman, a relationship. And then as you grow and it all becomes with self-love and how you're working on yourself, it becomes like, I don't really want, oh, I have it backwards. I'm sorry. They need a man, need a woman. And then it turns to, well, I want someone more to complement me, right? Is that the kind of
yeah,
phase?
I have a poem on YouTube called Sovereignty, which is really about this,
Hmm.
because the um, I don't think that you can be fully in a healthy, supportive relationship until you've learned how to love yourself and be
Mm.
happy by yourself.
Yep.
Because if you are unhappy when you're by yourself, if you are every time you're single, you just see that as I need to find my next relationship. If that's the space that you're in, then suddenly the relationship becomes the sole source of your happiness. And
Hmm.
then you will do everything you can to stay in that relationship rather than be alone, even if the relationship
Mm.
isn't healthy, and it will cause you to compromise some of your values or your boundaries or whatever because you're so afraid of losing the relationship because being on your
Hmm.
own is so scary. When you learn how to be on your own in a healthy way, enjoy your own company, love being single. Single is not just about finding your next relationship. Being single is about having the opportunity to be fully sovereign. Then I
Mm.
find now you're able to enter into relationship by choice, and you choose every day to stay in relationship because it's more enjoyable than being on your own. But being
Mm.
on your own is not a scary thing to avoid, and that to
Yeah.
me is where you avoid codependency.
Yeah. And that reminds me of a quote that was from Wayne Dyer, which I'm not going to try to remember it, but I'll paraphrase it, is that being alone can be amazing when you actually love yourself. It's when you
Right.
don't that it's scary, right? So, in another post on your Instagram, of course, that I loved, you discussed the question, do we really love ourselves? So this is going back to what you just said, but you mentioned that the answer is yes, but you desire to love yourself even more, and you reference the 5 love languages in there. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for me?
Yeah, so the 5 love languages are gifts, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
And these represent the ways in which we both give our love and receive love. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, problems in relationships can occur when people don't understand each other's love languages. So let's say I'm someone who, well, in real life, I am an acts of service person. But
Okay.
if my partner is a words of affirmation person, then I could be burning the candle at both ends, doing all of these things to show up and show support and show
It
my
don't
love.
matter.
But all she wants is to be told that I love her and that I miss her and she's amazing. Or if her love language is physical touch, all she wants is a hug. And
Yeah.
the 3 hours that I spent taking care of something for her mean very little in comparison.
Yeah.
And so understanding those love languages in relationship is crucial. But then on top of that, self-love is the byproduct of our relationship with ourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so learning and understanding how to both give and receive love just with ourselves is one of the most important things that we can actually do,
Mm-hmm.
because just like any other relationship in our life, if we want it to be stronger and more full of love, it will have these elements and it'll have more of them.
Yeah. It's funny. I love love languages and talking about them a lot. And it's funny. I was thinking it when you said about when I'm getting food for for my person. I'm thinking, okay, what is she going to want? Is she get something to eat? Am I going to get that? And I was thinking right there. I thought, oh, his love language is acts of service because mine is not. And I never think of
What is
getting food for
what
anybody.
is yours?
Mine's physical touch and quality time. And I don't even know physical touch as much because I think it's that I like to be touched. It's not even as much. This is what I'm learning about myself. Quality time for sure. I like that really special time together. I like to see somebody more often than none. But the physical touch part, I always say, I'm like, yeah, I'm really into physical touch. But then it's no, I like to be touched and all that stuff. And I found the last few boyfriends that I've had have been like, yeah, you just don't really touch me. And so I had to rethink what my love language was. But I always, and I know it's not acts of service, but I always have to like remind people and remind the listeners to really take that quiz and know what it is, because that is so monumental in your relationship and knowing if you guys match up or not. And I've said this before, one guy that I dated for a couple of years, I used to get so mad because, again, at the time, I thought mine was physical touch, and his was not. And I didn't really know this. And he was not affectionate at all. We would sit on the couch, like separate areas. And I'm always like, what's his deal? He's not into me. He's not attracted to me. And then we did the quiz, and physical touch was at the bottom for him. And I realized, oh, we're just not a match. Like, I'm getting upset about this. And I'm thinking he's just over there going, I'm not touching her. I don't want to touch her. And he wasn't even thinking about it because it's not at the top of his list. Right. So I
Right.
think it's just so important to really find out what yours is, and then you can help to better determine your relationship and see if you guys are a good match. I'm not saying to
Yeah, it's
break up
very
if you're
simple.
not. But
It's very simple. If he's not thinking about it, I that's not necessarily a problem. The real problem becomes if he's willing or unwilling to adjust.
yeah. 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 No, he
If you
wasn't.
tell him
So
how important it is, yeah, if you tell him how important it is and he's willing to say, "Okay, that's easy enough
yeah.
for me. I'll give you more hugs. I'll just touch you more often when I'm passing you in the kitchen. I'll just put a hand on your back,"
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Uh it's it is something that we can adjust. I think that's part
Yeah.
of what being in a relationship is we figure out how to show up to meet the needs that our partners have.
Mm. Yeah. I did find he did adjust a little bit, but it was like just for a time frame, because then, when you're being conscious of it and you're doing it, oh, she likes this. And then you go, oh, we're comfortable again. And it can easily drop off. So I'd have to be like, hello, rub the back. It didn't work. I tried. So you described your perspective as a blend of art and life. And I really love this. You use metaphor and symbolism to make complex ideas more accessible. So, can you share a powerful metaphor that has shaped your understanding of relationships or personal growth, and how we can maybe apply that to our own lives?
Yeah, I think of healthy relationships as being a slinky.
Ooh,
The
the one that
a
goes down the
slink
stairs
Yeah, exactly. The
over
spring
itself.
that
Okay.
that slinkies down the stairs
I like it.
because we're 2 ends of a slinky and we are connected. And what I've
Hmm.
found to be the way in which the healthiest dynamics seem to work is one person has some type of growth. Maybe they take a
Hmm.
workshop or a plant medicine ceremony or read a book where they grow in some way, they evolve in some way. And so they're the end of the slinky that's now shooting forward. And
Okay.
that growth creates tension on the other person. It just
Uh-huh.
naturally does. As one of us changes, it creates this tension. And
Hmm.
now, as the back end of the slinky feeling this tension, I have a choice. If I just stay put and I refuse to
Hmm.
evolve, I refuse to change, that tension is going to go so deep that it eventually breaks and it snaps. And
Yeah.
now we're not
Yeah.
connected anymore.
Mm.
But I can allow that tension to actually spring me forward.
Hmm.
And that has happened so many times in healthy relationships I've been in where they have some growth in some area, let's say it's nutrition, and I see them having this area of nutrition and I get interested maybe not necessarily in nutrition but biohacking around cold plunges and exercise, and they now catapult me forward and I get
Hmm.
excited about this new thing, and then they're going to feel the tension as I shift and they're going to have this opportunity to let that pull them forward, and before you know it,
Yeah.
we are just consistently pulling each other forward. And that, like a slinky,
Awesome.
is how I've seen the healthiest dynamics wind up working because we are allowing the growth of the other person instead of threatening us. It
Hmm.
actually motivates and inspires us for our own evolution.
I love the Slinky reference. That's so good. That's really, really powerful. And I love the way your mind works. And so this next question kind of goes in line with that, because you see science and spirituality as two languages explaining the same truth, right? So in a world where people often feel the need to choose between logic and faith, how do you think we can possibly integrate both to create a more fulfilling and abundant life for us?
Well, I'll use another sort of metaphor.
Yeah.
Right now, people are on a computer or on a phone or something. When you look at the computer or the phone, you're interfacing with the iOS, which is images and sounds and the
Mhm.
parameters that allow you to work that by pressing buttons or clicking on things. Um,
Okay.
this is the realm of spirituality. It's the realm of emotion and metaphor and meaning and sights and sounds and all of it. Well,
Mhm.
underneath your computer screen image is binary code. It's zeros and ones. It's electrical impulses. And
Mhm.
just like the movie The Matrix, where the guy's looking at the screen and he's going, "Oh, this is what's happening," because he can read the code.
Yeah.
The For most of us, if we were to see the binary code that's running behind our computer, we'd have no idea what's actually happening.
Right.
But it's just as true. It is
Mm.
true just the same as the images on the screen are true. It's just a different language that is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And reality is like that. Science and linearity is the language of zeros and ones and um, duality. And that to me is so important because if you can learn to speak that language as well,
Mhm.
both languages provide value. And so now I'm able to operate the iOS really effectively, but I'm also able to code and rewrite the iOS as well at a very,
Yeah.
very deep level. And I think that
Oof.
to me, it because I know that they're both true, if something in spirituality has no grounded basis at all, I
Mhm.
I'm very careful before I take it on as a belief in any way. And
Mhm.
similarly, if I can't find the way in which science or linearity will somehow mix with what ancient wisdom schools and mystery schools and those sorts of esoteric philosophies have been teaching, then I'm also somewhat skeptical as well. And what I've found is that the more we discover in science, the closer it brings us to what ancient schools of thought have been teaching for millennia, as opposed to further apart. We're coming closer together.
Mm. Incredible. Um, so speaking of how I just love your mind, how your mind works, I wanted to just touch base on your poetry, which is so phenomenal. It's so good. And so I just want to implore the listeners, obviously, to go check out your videos and everything you got in there because it's so good. And I was watching them in awe, Adam. I was just like, wait, is he just doing this? Are you on the fly when you're just doing this up there? You're just okay. I gotta reference one. I'm like all excited about this because I gotta reference the one. It's La La Land. You have the movie showing, and I relate to that because it's my kid's favorite movie. But you just keep saying I have a crush, and you go through this. It is just orgasmic as you're going through it. It is just, listening to you and watching the video, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And I have never been really into poetry, I'll admit it. And I was like, hot damn, this is good. This is hot. This is hot. So I have to know, are you just talking on the fly up there when you're doing that? Or because you do a lot of speaking events, you have sold out shows. I mean, we're so lucky to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate. Uh,
Yes.
I really
So
appreciate
good.
it. I've never heard someone talk about my poetry with this way of just. I
Oh,
really appreciated
oh
the way you said it.
yeah. I
Um,
got wet.
it
Oh yeah.
well,
It
I
was
have.
good.
Um, yeah, it's not. So that's a written poem. A lot of my pieces are pre-written, and as I said, I was an
Uh-huh.
actor in Los Angeles, so I have a performance background, so
Oh
that
yeah,
plays a
monologues
role.
and
um
yeah.
Sometimes I'll make up poetry on the spot, but generally they're written, and I do a lot of live events. I have poetry shows. I'm releasing my first book of poetry actually
Oh,
at the start of next year, probably Valentine's Day next year.
oh my
um
God. It's gonna be my
and
50 Shades of Grey. I know it.
yeah, and so yeah, that poem that you're referencing is called Just a Little Crush, and I
Ah,
wrote it
so good.
because um I had a crush on someone, And I'm a romantic, right? So my
Mm,
mind goes into all of the possibilities, and most of the time it never amounts to anything. And I actually had the thought, do I tell this person I have a crush, or
mm,
do I just let it live as a crush?
yeah.
And that thing, and that led me to write this poem with someone who I never had even met, was the thing. Um,
Really?
and so it's funny how you can have a muse or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to do the poem. It's short if you want me to.
Yes,
I can
yes, please. I love it. Go.
Perfect. So this poem is called Just a Little Crush, and I invite everyone listening to just take one nice deep clearing breath with an
Mm,
inhale and exhale. I have a crush on you. I know it's true because each time I say your name, I feel a flame shoot up my spine and out my cheeks. Flushed with heat, red like beets, my face reveals the secret that I keep. I have a crush on you. And if I told you that, would you say it back? Let me know that your heart beats fast at the thought that every person from your past prepared you for me, your perfect match. I have a crush on you. I can see our future family. The kids that look like you and me, they call you mom, I call you mine. And it's only through the growing lines on your face I know that time and space haven't stopped, because it's felt that way since that first thought. I have a crush on you. But will I actually say the words, or will they stay unsaid? Am I willing to risk the hurt that the dream dies outside my head? Because right now we laugh and dance and play every day into the night, and even when I drift off to sleep, I still feel you anchored by my side. You never cry. We never fight. You'll never die if I'm alive. I'll keep you safe inside my mind because I have a crush on you. And sometimes that's enough. Better than real touch. Because in my heart, it is still real love, even if it's just a little crush.
so Y'all, you're gonna need to watch this video. Just saying. So good. It's the way that you tell it too. It's not just the words that come out of your mouth, and you told it like you did when I watched it, and you had, the La La Land going on in it, because that is what that feels like throughout that movie. And it's like an event listening to you say that. So,
Oh,
oh my God, it's so good. Thank you for sharing that. Really, I mean, it's good, you guys. It's good.
thank you.
It's good. So good. So good. I had
Have you
another
heard my
question
album?
about that.
Have you heard my
Haven't.
album? So I have an
No.
album. I have an album. I have two albums on Spotify, but there's one all about love and relationships called The Journey Back
Ugh.
to You. And it's on
Oh my
Spotify just
gosh.
under my name if you're interested. It's 33
Oh,
minutes.
of course.
Just
I love
listen
it.
from start to finish. It takes you on a journey.
I'm never going to leave my bedroom, Adam. And that is not, don't take that the wrong way, people. He's got a girlfriend. It's okay. I'm just speaking my mind. I love to do that.
It's funny that you say that because I'm tempted, Andrea, to start for at least a year now. I've been playing with the idea of starting an OnlyFans called Bubble Bath Poetry,
Oh,
where I read erotic poetry I've written from the bubble
yeah.
bath. So I'm
Adam, you have to. I mean,
you're
it's
making me think I should do it.
see, I mean, yeah, and I don't do this stuff I'm talking about well. So if you got me, it doesn't happen very often for me. So yeah, it's your voice, it's the way you say it, the inflections and the character behind it. It's just so good. It's so good. So I'll join. However that
Great,
works. I'll
great.
subscribe.
We'll get a affiliate link for your listeners.
Yes, please. I love it. I love it. Thank you for doing that. That was amazing. So, okay, before you go, let me wrap this up. Well, actually, we're going to do a little game before you go, but I want to wrap this up with if there's one final piece of wisdom you could share with someone going through a tough breakup right now, what would it be?
I would say it comes back to this hurts, and it is an incredible opportunity. And so don't
Mm.
Don't get so focused on the hurt that you miss the opportunity.
Ooh, I like that. Because we do. We do. We don't see it for what it could truly be, right? One door
Yeah.
closes, another opens. I love that. I love that. Okay, tell everybody where they can find you at this point. Like, what's your social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So Adam.Roa, ROA on Instagram. That's my number one platform. I'm also on Facebook. I am Adam Roa. I have a YouTube channel and adamroa.com. We're redesigning the website, but you can still go there, especially if you want to get my newsletter that I send out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a podcast called The Creative Path with Adam Roa, and I explore creativity in all sorts of ways with amazing humans all around the world. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of places you can find me, and I love staying in touch with my audience as much as possible. So please send me a message. Let me know where we got connected.
Love that. And you do a lot of engagements, speak engagements, right? Like all over, don't you? Is
Yeah, I
that
do
where you're going to
a
all these
number.
countries?
Yeah, I speak all around the world, corporate engagements, conferences. I lead group programs, retreats. Right now, I'm very excited because later this year, I'm going to do more of my 2-day transformational workshop that I lead
Mm-hmm.
called The Art of Being You. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really about using performance and expression and creativity to become the most magnetic version of yourself. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
2-day workshop that I think the next one I'll do is in the Bay Area in California, but I'm going to do several locations this year.
Oh, I love it. And we'll have this all in the show notes so everybody can know where to find you. So before you go, I love to play a little game from Mrs. to Ms. Would you rather? And it's somewhat in your area of expertise. So just whatever comes to mind. All right. Number one, would you rather go on a first date where you can only talk about self love or one where you can't talk about personal growth at all? First date.
Well, I would say you can only. Uh, I think that the first one mainly because I don't know how to even do the second. I see life as a giant. I see life as a giant personal development journey. That's what life is. So I feel that the second one's kind of a trick question. I don't know how to view
Yeah.
life through
How to
any
do
other
that.
lens than evolving.
I wonder how going into it talking about self love, you're like, "Hi, I'm Adam. Nice to meet you. I love myself." I don't know how we get into that. That could come
I
off a
know.
little weird.
Well, it's
Let's
funny. It's
pace
funny how that
ourselves.
works. We'll just
Such
compliment
a fun
ourselves all day long.
experiment. I would love to do that. We did a little funny like YouTube video of like going on a date and you come in and I'm just like, huh, okay.
Oh.
And it just keeps happening. That would be so fun. Number two, would you rather relive your most painful breakup but gain a new life changing lesson from it or erase the breakup from your memory entirely?
Oh, the first one. I think if we erase the breakup, we erase the lessons.
Good answer. Number three, would you rather coach someone who only communicates in emojis or someone who breaks into interpretive dance instead of answering your questions?
I think the interpretive dance. I love dance. I just love dance. Great. It'd be great to just see someone dancing at every question. Yeah.
If you could be any emoji, what emoji do you think you would be?
Probably the wizard.
Oh, oh, I like that one. That wasn't one of my questions, but good one. Okay. Number four, would you rather fall for someone who makes you laugh uncontrollably or someone who gives you butterflies every time they walk in the room?
Laughter.
Laughter. Number five, blindfolded surprises or playful role play,
Playful role play.
especially as an actor. That's
I'm
fun.
I'm really as a poet and an actor, the role play and also the sexy text messaging. I feel like I
Yeah,
got that down.
you do. I'm terrible at the sexy, terrible at sexy text messaging. I'd be like, AI, you got to help a girl out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or
I mean
like,
that's one way of going about it. The effort is there.
yeah, exactly. Or just even when it's like phone sex or something. Oh God, it's so hard for me. I'm great in person, but on the phone, doing that, I can have a normal
I mean,
phone
I've
conversation.
been fully nomadic for 7 years, so I just had
So
to get
you've
good
had
at it.
to.
It's a skill I had to develop ultimately.
And you've gotten all these girlfriends, so it's something's working for you there. That's what you
I mean,
said.
it's been a journey. I'm 40 years old, so there's been a lot of dating in there since my 10-year ended.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 33. Yeah. Okay, so number 6, would you rather only be able to express love through words for the rest of your life or only through actions? If you had to pick one.
Oh, wow. I guess I would have to go with action since acts of service is my love language.
That is. I was wondering poetry or interpretive dance. Which
I
way
know,
does
but
it
I
go?
want to write poetry. Yeah, that was a tough one. That's a good one.
That's a tough one. Number 7, trying new positions or mastering the classics. He's stumped on this one, folks.
Uh,
It's not just silence right now.
you know what? I'm gonna go with mastering the classics. I think that I'm a depth kind of dude. I like to really go deep into whatever it is.
Oh, I'm not gonna touch that one. All right, number 8. Would you rather get trapped in a room with your ex for 24 hours or give a TED talk on your most embarrassing dating moment?
I mean, I guess it depends on which ex, but I would say I'd probably give a TED talk. I'm gonna give a TED talk this year anyway, so it seems like
Oh,
something
you
I would
are?
do it anyway.
You would do anyway? Do you have a really good embarrassing dating moment that you can think of at the moment?
An embarrassing dating moment. I think that no, I don't really. Was I ever embarrassed on a date? Not that I can
No.
really think of.
No. Oh, yeah. Fine. Okay. He's got this
I mean,
down.
dates haven't. There hasn't been connection, or there's been whatever. But I think more it would be embarrassing if you were to see. But I made a reality show. Like I said, I was 40-year-old virgin when I first at 33. I just didn't know, and so the behind the scenes neuroses that I was in,
Uh-huh.
that's probably more embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. I say the same thing because you kind of said that after your 10 years at 33, you came out and then you're all of a sudden dating, and there's all these dating sites. Dating is way different than it was before you went into that. And I say the same thing. And I came out of my marriage like, I'm going young. I was like 44. I'm like, I'm going to go for like a 28-year-old. And that is my episode Dick Slapped. If someone wants to go back and listen to that one, where he came up slapping me in the face with his little pecker. So that was traumatic to
That was
say.
dramatic.
Oh, I
It's so
cried,
funny.
Adam. I
It's so funny
cried.
how that works. That's so funny how that works because I literally, when I was first single, 33, 34, I set a goal. It never actually happened, but I went, well, how come I can't find a sugar mama? You know, why
Yeah.
can't I just be the cabana pool boy? I'll write poetry. I'll be the artistic, the play toy for some rich woman who's flying me around the world. I had that
Yes.
same sort of idea in my head for a while. I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just something that happens when we leave long-term relationships. We go,
Yeah.
what's
Well, we just have
what's the
the
furthest we can go?
fantasy. We've had all of our marriage or our relationship, and you come out, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like it. I was not expecting the
Well,
treat I got.
if I get a sugar mama, I'll let you know if it's like my fantasy.
Yes, I need to know. Okay, number 9. Would you rather have someone fall in love with you after hearing just one of your poems or have the power to make anyone feel deeply seen with just one spoken word?
The second one for sure.
Hmm. Just one word. I love that.
Yeah,
Would you have a word?
I feel I'm everything I do almost every day with every bit of content with this podcast with all of it is I'm hoping that I make people feel very seen.
Yeah, I love it. I feel it. Number 10. Would you rather be known as the verses of vulnerability or the sonneteer of the soul if you had to have a name?
The sonneteer of the soul.
Sonneteer of the soul. It sounded good when I was writing it. I'm like, I like that one. Sounds good. Oh, thank you for playing. That was so fun. I feel like I learned so much about my guests when I ask those questions, you know, because it's just like truly how you think or how you are. It just opens things up. And I love that. So thanks for playing that very
Yeah, that was a
much.
lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. I've loved having you. To the listeners out there, you guys, you got to go check out his stuff. He's given his Instagram, he's given his website, all the good stuff. I'll have it in the show notes for you to find. He's got plenty of retreats and classes and courses and all kinds of neat stuff on there. So go check that out. You can find me on any major streaming platform. You can also email me at info@frommrs2ms.net. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.